Bruchim haba and welcome everyone to a very special edition of All Parsha on the Haturim on Parshas Vayikra. And as this week is also Shabbos Hagadol, I would like to share with you an idea that is relevant both to the Haturim on Parshas Vayikra and to the upcoming Yom Tov of Pesach. Let's begin with an amazing comment of the Yalkut Ruveni. Yalkut Ruveni is a collection of ancient Kabbalistic ideas. It's called Yalkut Ruveni, and he says on the first phenomenon we encounter in the beginning of Parshas Vayikra, Sefer Vayikra, the aleph ze'ira. We know the aleph of Vayikra is an aleph ze'ira, a small aleph. Says the Yalkut Ruveni, Hera HaKadosh Baruch Hu LaMoshe aleph ze'ira. The Rebbeinu Shalom showed Moshe Rabbeinu the small aleph, who soid Rabbi Akiva. The small aleph is the secret of Rabbi Akiva. Shekain aleph ze'ira. The word aleph ze'ira, which is Gematria 399, is Gematria Rabbi Akiva, has the same numerical value as Rabbi Akiva spelled with a hey. Says the Yalkut Ruveni, if you remove that aleph, the aleph again is Gematria 399 Rabbi Akiva, you're left with the word Vayikra. Now the word Vayikra, Yikar, is a reference to Rabbi Akiva as well. As Chazal say on the pasuk, "V'li ma yakru reyacha," and to me how precious are my friends kale, this refers to Rabbi Akiva. So this is certainly worthy of our attention. What is the meaning, the deeper meaning here, that the Rebbeinu Shalom showed Moshe Rabbeinu Rabbi Akiva? Now the Haturim brings the more well-known explanation for the aleph ze'ira, the small aleph. Says the Haturim in the opening pasuk of the Parsha, "Shemoshe haya gadol v'anav." He says Moshe was great and humble, Vayikra, that he only wanted to write not Vayikra, that Hashem called upon him, which Rashi says is a lashon of chavivos, a lashon of kriya, but instead Vayikra, a lashon of mikra, happenstance. As if God only spoke to him in a dream, as it said by Bilam, as if God only appeared to him haphazardly. Amalei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God says to Moshe, Lichtov Gama Aleph, you have to write the Aleph. I don't speak to you that way. I don't speak to you like Bilam. I speak to you with love, with endearment, with preparation. So Moshe says, V'shav Amalei Moshe Machmas Roi V'anova, Moshe in his great humility, he said, Shelo Yichtaven Ela Ketana Yosem Mishar HaAleph Shabbat Moshe said, at least write the Aleph small, V'kasva Ketana, and therefore it was written small. So according to the Haturim, the small aleph, Moshe was supposed to write it big originally, and he davened, he said, Ribbono Shel Olam, please, if you're not going to allow me to write Vayikra, a lashon of haphazard, at least in my humility, at least allow me to write Vayikra with a small aleph, so it somewhat gives the appearance of Vayikra. Now, the Yalkut Ruveni brings another amazing statement of Chazal. In Parshas Kisisa we find that when Moshe Rabbeinu came down from Har Sinai, he had karnei hoid. He had rays of light. And the Medrash asks, the Yalkut Ruveni asks, where did Moshe get the rays of light from? He had one ray on his right side, one on his left side. So, the Medrash says that Moshe Rabbeinu had extra ink that remained in his quill, and he passed the ink over his forehead, and from there his forehead emanated rays of light. So the question is, what do you mean Moshe Rabbeinu had extra ink? Obviously this was the writing of the original Sefer Torah was a supernatural process. Why wouldn't the pen have had exactly enough ink? What was the extra ink that Moshe Rabbeinu had? So the Yalkut Ruveni, Moshe Rabbeinu had 2 extra droplets of ink. He had an extra droplet of ink because originally he was supposed to write the aleph of Vayikra big. Instead he wrote it small. Hashem allowed him to write it small. And he had an extra droplet of ink from the difference between a big aleph and a small aleph. Additionally, if you look at the end of Bahaloischa on the pasuk V'ha'ish Moshe Anav Ma'od, so that word is written aleph ayin nun vav instead of ayin nun yud vav. It's a Greek sieve, and Moshe Rabbeinu was allowed to omit the yud of the word Anav. So Moshe Rabbeinu remained with 2 extra droplets of ink. He passed that ink over his forehead, and that pen, that extra ink, illuminated the countenance of Moshe, and Moshe Rabbeinu had karnei hoid. That's where the ink came from. That's where the karnei hoid came from the extra ink, from the word Vayikra, and from the word Anav. Now, what's amazing is I saw in the Sefer Pnei Melech, Vayikra El Moshe. El Moshe is gematria karnei hoid. Where did he get the El Moshe? Where did he get the karnei hoid from? From Vayikra, from the small aleph. He got the karnei hoid from the small aleph. However, the Yalkut Ruveni, mentioned earlier, says that the small aleph alludes to Rabbi Akiva. Is there any connection between the small aleph being the source from which Moshe Rabbeinu gained the illumination from, and the fact that the small aleph is also gematria Rabbi Akiva? So there's another amazing Chassam Sofer. Chassam Sofer writes on the Gemara Masechta Rosh Hashanah. The Gemara says that the Shira of Ha'azinu has to be broken up in the following way. Haziv lach. There's a mnemonic to remember how to break up Shiras Hazinu. Hazinu should be broken up. Haziv lach. Splendor is yours. In the Shalsa Tshuvas, Zichra and Yosef, he says that Haziv lach refers to Moshe Rabbeinu and refers to the rays of light of Moshe Rabbeinu. And the Zichron Yosef is bothered. Why does it say Haziv lach, splendor is yours? It should say Haziv loi, splendor is his. Says Chassam Sofer, in his opinion, the word lach is gematria 50. And that indicates that Moshe Rabbeinu had a semblance of the 50th gate of wisdom, and that is where his splendor and his divine shine came from. Lach, 50, the 50th gate of wisdom. Now, the truth is, this is a matter of some debate, whether Moshe in fact had the 50th gate of wisdom. The Gemara in Rosh Hashanah says, Daf Yod Aleph, V'atechasreu ma'at me'elokim, Hashem made him a little bit less than God, so to speak, that 50 gateways of wisdom were created in the world, and Moshe Rabbeinu had all of them except for one. And the Arizal asks, why does it say all of them except for one? It should say he had 49. He didn't have all of them. He had 49. Why all of them except for one? Says the Ari, because originally at Kabbalas HaTorah, Moshe Rabbeinu in fact was elevated to the 50th gate of wisdom. That is indicated by the pasuk Vayidaber Hashem al Moshe es koil, all the words, all of the kedusha. Koil is gematria 50, and because of the chet ha'ego, Moshe Rabbeinu had to lose the 50th level. That's why Hashem said lech raid, go down from lech, go down from 50. Ultimately, the Shlach HaKadosh says Moshe Rabbeinu was elevated to the 50th level before he passed on. That's the meaning of the pasuk. Vayal Moshe me'arvos Moav. Moshe went up from the plains of Moav as gematria 49. El Har Nevai Nun Bai. He was elevated to the 50th Madrega. The Gra says no. 50th Madrega is beyond human comprehension. But the Arizal says Moshe did have a semblance of the 50th. In fact, the Chassam Sofer agrees. The Chassam Sofer writes in Parsha Shlach that his student, Moshe's student, was called Yehoshua, not Ben Nun, but Bin Nun, because he was misboinen, he contemplated the Shar Nun, the 50th gate of wisdom that he learned from his Rebbe Moshe Rabbeinu. Chassam Sofer in the beginning of Hazinu, likewise, advances this idea that Moshe understood, recognized, comprehended some element of the 50th gate of wisdom. Haziv Lach, the splendor of Moshe came from the 50th gateway of wisdom. How did Moshe gain the 50th level of wisdom? Says Chassam Sofer, he gained it from the small aleph. This is alluded to in the words ha'azinu. Ha'azinu are the oisios ziv, splendor. Through the aleph of Vayikra, Nun, he was zoichet to the Shar Nun. It's amazing. So Moshe Rabbeinu was zoichet to the 50th gate of wisdom from the small aleph. How is he zoichet to the 50th gate of wisdom from the small aleph? We said the small aleph is gematria, aleph zeira is gematria, Rabbi Akiva. Was there ever anyone in history who did understand fully and recognize to the greatest possible extent the Shar Nun? There's one person, Rabbi Akiva. On the pasuk, Kol Yakar. Remember, the Yalkut Ruveni says, Vayikra is a reference to Rabbi Akiva because V'li ma yakru reyacha, Yakar refers to Rabbi Akiva. There's another medrash. The medrash says on the pasuk, V'chol Yakar ra'asa inay, and all of the splendor his eyes saw. This is Rabbi Akiva. Says Reb Shmuel Vital, V'chol, 50, that Rabbi Akiva, v'chol yakar, all the splendor Rabbi Akiva understood, all 50 levels. The Chida quotes this in his commentary to the Haggadah Shel Pesach on the words, va'afilu kulanu chachamim, kulanu nevainim, kulanu yodim es haTorah. Still, it's a mitzvah l'saper b'yitzias Mitzrayim. And the Chida asks, of course, why would I think that someone who is so smart and someone who is so wise would be exempt from relating the events of Yitzias Mitzrayim? And the Chida says, based on this idea that Rabbi Akiva had the 50th gate of wisdom, that you would think someone of the caliber of Rabbi Akiva would be exempt from speaking about Yitzias Mitzrayim. Who took the Jewish people out of Mitzrayim? Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, says the Chida, was really only on the Shar Mem test, the 49th level of wisdom. But he was able to take us out of Mitzrayim because in Mitzrayim we were also only on the 49th level of Tumah. So 49 could take out of 49, and that's why Hashem had to take us out so quickly, earlier than the time, the designated time, because if we would have remained there until we fell to the 50th level of wisdom, the 50th level of Tumah, Moshe can never yank us out because Moshe did not have the 50th level of Bina to pull us out of the 50th level of Tumah. But says the Chida, Rabbi Akiva did have the 50th level of wisdom. So for Rabbi Akiva, Yitzias Mitzrayim wasn't a big deal. We could have stayed there much longer and he could have came along and he could have pulled us out. So you would have thought someone of the caliber of Rabbi Akiva didn't have to stay up all night speaking about Yitzias Mitzrayim. And therefore the Haggadah tells us a novel ruling. Even a Chacham and a Navan like Rabbi Akiva, he could have pulled us out of Mitzrayim after us having been there a few extra centuries. He too still has to display gratitude to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for taking us out. Says the Chida, now we can understand the Medrash, Oisiyos to Rabbi Akiva, that says when Moshe Rabbeinu said, Shlach na biyat tishlach, don't send me to take the Jews out of Mitzrayim, send the tishlach, the one who you usually send. And Targum Yonasan ben Uziel says that refers to Pinchas, send Pinchas to take them out of Mitzrayim. And the Ramban says, send anybody but me. Comes Oisiyos to Rabbi Akiva, and he understands that when Moshe Rabbeinu said Shlach na biyad tishlach, what he meant was let Rabbi Akiva take them out of Mitzrayim. Rabbi Akiva? Why Rabbi Akiva? Why was Moshe Rabbeinu passing the baton to Rabbi Akiva? Because Moshe Rabbeinu had the following question: God, what's the rush to take them out? Oh, because you're afraid that if they stay a moment longer, they're going to fall to the Shar Nun, and I won't be able to take them out. No problem. So let's delay, let's wait, and you know who will take them out of Mitzrayim? Rabbi Akiva will take them out of Mitzrayim. Shlach na biyad tishlach, because Rabbi Akiva has the Shar Nun, the 50th gate of wisdom. In fact, the words Shlach na biyad tishlach are Rashi Tevois Nun Shabbos. Nun Shabbos stands for Nun Sharei Bina, through the 50 gates of wisdom. Tough, we could get out of Mitzrayim. After 400 years, we don't have to leave after 210. That was Moshe Rabbeinu's signal to Hashem. Shlach na biyad tishlach. Nun Sharei Bina, and we could stick around for 400 years. There's no rush to get us out now. So it comes out incredible that according to the Chassam Sofer, he quotes that Moshe Rabbeinu got his Karnei Hoid, again, El Moshe's Gematria Karnei Hoid, he got it from the 50th gate of wisdom. And according to the Chassam Sofer, he got it from the small aleph. So which one did he get it from? Did he get it from the 50th gate of wisdom? Did he get it from the small aleph? The Medrash says that the extra ink that Moshe Rabbeinu had from the small aleph is where he got the Karnei Hoid from. And the Akruveni brings the gematria of Aleph Zira is Rabbi Akiva. So what exactly contributed to Moshe's Karnei Hoid? But according to what we're learning, it's all one pshat. Aleph Zira is gematria Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva is the symbol of the 50th gate of wisdom. Through the Aleph Zira, the 50th gate of wisdom, Moshe Rabbeinu got the Karnei Hoid. So the Aleph Zira encapsulates Rabbi Akiva, it encapsulates the extra diyai that Moshe Rabbeinu had, and it encapsulates the 50th gateway of wisdom, and from there, Aleph Zira is Hazinu, Ziv, Aleph, Nun. Where did Moshe get his splendor from? From the Aleph, he got the 50th gate of wisdom. That the 50th gate of wisdom is represented by the small aleph, which is a remez to the great Tana, Rabbi Akiva. So Rabbi Akiva makes his way into the opening pasuk of Sefer Vayikra, and this is the clue from which we can discover and glean where Moshe Rabbeinu got his El Moshe, his Karnei Hoid, and through Moshe Rabbeinu's great humility, he was able to integrate this wisdom. And let's just share one final thought from the Haturim, and that is the Haturim points out that Moshe Rabbeinu's name is mentioned in Sefer Vayikra even before the name of God. Vayikra el Moshe, Vayedaber Hashem elav, says the Haturim, Kiviyachol ke'echad shemedaber im chaveroi. Hashem was makdim Moshe ta'akadosh Baruch Hu, like someone who speaks to his friend, and Hashem is makdim Moshe derech Moser. We could say, based on the first Haturim, that because Moshe Rabbeinu, in his great humility, wanted to write Vayikra, and he wrote Vayikra with a small aleph. So Moshe Rabbeinu showed great humility in that he's not worthy of Vayikra. Hashem paid him back Midah Keneged Midah and showed Moshe Rabbeinu the ultimate humility and accorded Moshe Rabbeinu to be the very first name in Sefer Vayikra, being makdim him even before his very own name. So these are some thoughts, the opening pasuk, and on Yetzias Mitzrayim, may we be zoiche to the ultimate geula, the bias gael tzedek, ki meitzeischa, me'eretz Mitzrayim arenu nifla'is.